Although not a central character in the Mahabharata, the story of Ashwathama, Drona's son, is a compelling one. Having access to powerful weapons and nearly being responsible for the death of millions, Ashwathama was a warrior lacking maturity and forethought, with an inflated ego and an extremely hot head. Ashwathama is revered as one of the 8 Chiranjeevis, along with Vyasa, Hanuman, Parashurama, Vibhishana, Mahabali, Kripacharya, and Sage Markandeya. Born to Dronacharya and Kripi after many years of penance for a child, his birth was extraordinary. He came into the world neighing like a horse instead of crying. His ear-piercing noise was heard across the world, resulting in him being named Ashwathama, which means the sacred voice, which relates to that of a horse. Accompanying his birth was a celestial voice, proclaiming that Ashwathama was blessed by Lord Shiva. Ashwathama is considered as an avatar of Kaal, meaning doom, Krodh, meaning anger, Yam, meaning death, and Lord Shiva. Certainly blessed, the boy inexplicably had a money or a gem on his forehead that protected him from all evil spirits. He was immune to exhaustion and all manners of evil spirits because of the money on his forehead. Ashwathama had a difficult upbringing and lacked access to even the most basic and fundamental necessities, such as milk. So it is clear that he had always been driven. It was when Drona was asked to teach the Kuru princes, both Pandavas and the Kauravas, the art of warfare that his life saw some financial stability. Ashwathama also trained with the Kuru princes and honed his fighting skills in their company. He was talented as well, but Arjuna surpassed him, so Guru Drona vowed to train Arjun to become the greatest archer in history. To fulfill his end of the bargain, Arjun was instructed to use the Brahmastra, the mightiest weapon in existence and capable of destroying the entire planet. Unknown to others at the time, the Brahmastra wasn't only given to Arjun. Blinded by his love for his son Ashwathama, taught his Brahmastra to Ashwathama in addition to Arjuna. Drona decided to teach Ashwathama despite being aware of his lack of maturity and impulse control. Although he gave his son stern warnings, Ashwathama's egos grew. Even after getting his hands on the Brahmastra, he ran behind Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra but failed to get it. His newfound status as the king of southern Panchal did nothing to calm his unpredictable behavior. Although Ashwathama was not as close with Duryodhan and the Kauravas, he chose to fight on their side because of his father's status as the guru of the Kuru clan and his loyalty to Hastinapur. On the 10th day of the war, Drona was made the supreme commander after Bhishma's death by Arjuna's hands. Drona promised to capture Yudhishthir, but he was unsuccessful. Nevertheless, Drona was too powerful to kill when armed. For this reason, Krishna and the Pandavas came up with a scheme to persuade Drona into surrendering his arsenal. Bhim was tasked with killing an elephant named Ashwathama and eventually did so. Since Yudhishthir was known as the Dharmaraj and always told the truth, Krishna entrusted him with the task of informing Drona of Ashwathama's demise. At first, Yudhishthir refuses, but later he gives in. During the war, Guru Drona loudly asked Yudhishthir if Ashwathama was dead. The answer from Yudhishthir was affirmative. He tells half a lie. Yudhishthir says, "Yes, Ashwathama is dead, but an elephant." Krishna knew Yudhishthir could not tell a straight-up lie, so he had the other warriors make enough noise, and Drona only heard Yudhishthir say, "Ashwathama is dead," and did not catch his follow-up about whether it was his son or the elephant. The strategy worked, and a distraught Drona abandoned his weapons, making way for Drishtadyumna, the son of Drupad, to finish him off. Ashwathama heard of the betrayal and his father's death, and in rage invoked the Narayanastra despite having been warned repeatedly to save it only for the most dire of situations. As the sky darkened, a howling sound began to fill the atmosphere. The Pandavas were prepared for death. Knowing that the Narayanastra only killed armed soldiers, Krishna ordered all of his troops to lay down their weapons and bow to the Narayanastra. The Astra passed by harmlessly. The Pandavas avoided defeat due to the weapon's single-use nature. The death of Duryodhan at the Battle of Kurukshetra pushed Ashwatthama to the brink. Only Ashwathama, Kripacharya and Kritavarma made it out of the battle alive from the Kaurava side. The battle was over and the three supposedly visited Duryodhan in his final moments. Duryodhan, in his final moments, gave the order for Ashwathama to kill the Pandavas to avenge his death. Furious over the death of his father and Duryodhan, Ashwathama made up his mind to extract vengeance. Ashwathama, filled with rage, made his way towards the Pandava camp. His temperament clouded his thoughts and prevented his brain from processing Kripacharya and Kritavarma's warnings. Ashwathama was in no mood to hear anyone out. They made an effort to persuade Ashwathama by pointing out his lack of experience. He did not only ignore them, but instead forcefully asked for their support because he was now their commander-in-chief. They gave in, and their actions helped seal his fatal end. Ashwathama broke camp rules and sneaked into the compound at night because he rationalized that if his father could be killed unjustly, so could his attackers. Ashwathama encountered Lord Shiva, who appeared to him as a terrifying ghost when he arrived at the Pandava camp. Ashwathama, who had failed to recognize the Lord, sprang into a fearless, all-out assault on him, but could not do a single bit of damage. While sitting in a fire pit, Ashwathama began to meditate on Lord Shiva. This moved him greatly. He revealed his true identity and gave Ashwathama a formidable blade. Then, the great Lord Shiva himself entered Ashwathama's body, turning him into an unbeatable force. As soon as Ashwathama arrived at the camp, he brutally murdered Drishtadyumna, who was only partially awake. He then slaughtered dozens of Pandava soldiers, including Shikhandi, Yudhamanyu, Uttamojas, and even the Upapandavas, who he mistook for the Pandavas. The end of the war caught Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, and Draupadi off guard. They were out of the camp for the night and were completely devastated upon their return. The terrible news shattered the Pandavas, and Bhim swore revenge on Ashwathama, who was hiding out in Sage Vyasa's ashram on the banks of river Bhagirath. Soon after, Ashwathama vowed to kill the Pandavas and used a single blade of grass to invoke Brahmastra against them. To defend themselves, Krishna instructed Arjuna to use his Brahmastra. Vyasa stepped in and ordered Ashwathama and Arjuna to put down their weapons. Arjuna knew how to retract his Brahmastra, so he did. In contrast, Ashwathama only knew how to invoke it. Without knowing how to reverse it, he aimed it at Uttara's womb, which was carrying Abhimanyu's child. He did it to put an end to Pandava's family tree. The weapon destroyed the Pandava child, thus destroying the Pandava ancestry. Instead of letting Uttara's child die, Krishna rescued him and gave him the name Parikshit. Because the unborn child had already been tested before he arrived in the world, Krishna decided that this was the best name for him. Parikshit eventually succeeded Yudhishthir as the king of the Kuru clan. The angered Pandavas managed to conquer and defeat Ashwathama. The Pandavas forced him to cut and surrender the money or the gem on his forehead as a punishment for all the sins he had committed. But Ashwathama met his worst possible ending when he was given the worst curse given to anyone in the history of mankind by Krishna. Krishna said, "The fall of this mighty Brahmastra will not be fruitless. The fetus in the womb of Uttara will die, but being dead, it will live again and have a long life. About you, O Ashwathama, all wise men know you for a coward and a sinful wretch. Always engaged in sinful acts, you are the slayer of children. For this reason, you must have to bear the fruit of your own sins. For 3,000 years, you shall wander on this earth without a companion and without being able to talk to anyone. Alone and without anybody by your side, you shall wander through diverse countries. O wretch, you shall have no place in the midst of men. You shall wander over the earth, you sinful soul, with the weight of all the diseases on yourself, with your body covered with painful sores and ulcers that shall never cure. The ugliness of your character and the ugliness of your body will always drive people away from you. No human on earth would ever want to glance at you, let alone provide any sympathy or help. Even when you yearn to die, death won't come near you. It is said that taking pity on him, Lord Parashurama agreed to help Ashwathama. Parashurama, along with Maharshi Durvasa, had introduced Ashwathama to Shakti Sri Vidya Sadhana, which is considered to be the supreme of all modes of worship. Eventually, Ashwathama was freed of all his sins. By worshipping Adi Parashakti, Ashwathama was freed of Lord Krishna's curse after 3000 years. The grace of a guru helped him raise himself from a cursed man to a great sage. Some sources claim that Ashwathama is still alive and can be found in the area of Asigarh fort, where he offers prayers to Lord Shiva. Several people have reported to have sighted a figure which mostly resembles the warrior's description. Locals residing on the foothills of Himalayas report that a very tall man with a noticeable dent on his forehead visits the small food place owner every year. At the end of Kali Yuga, he is said to meet Lord Vishnu's 10th avatar, the Kalki avatar, and become a sage. Ashwathama is also destined to become one of the 7 Saptarishis in the next 8th Manvantara, also called as the Surya Savarni Manvantara. To know in detail about the concept of Manvantara, watch the video linked in the comments below. Ashwathama will be a great sage along with other rishis like Diptimat, Galava, Parashurama, Kripa, Vyasa and Rishyasringa.